All right, aloha, everyone. Thank you for coming. This is a Design Your Life presentation, which is based on the work of Bill Burnett and Dave Evans of Stanford's Life Design Studio. And as Tomoko mentioned, we're going to have a few exercises, so grab a pen or pencil and a notebook or something to write on, and let's get going. Where's my thing? Here we go. Okay, today we're going to talk a little bit about what design thinking is all about. And then we're going to check on what your point of view is concerning college and what it means to you. And then we're going to discuss the issue of choosing a college major and whether or not that really affects your potential college career going forward. But first, let me introduce who you have with us, who we have for you today. Kim Martinson, career specialist with Manoa Maui College. Good. Tomoko Skinner, career specialist with the Hawaiʻi Community College. And me, Monty Clark, specialist with Kapiʻolani Community College. And I will work on getting my tongue untied. Wait, before we get into the design life material, allow me to give a pitch for Handshake. Handshake is the platform that all three colleges of ours use to connect students with employers. Now, if you're a student at one of our colleges, you're already registered in Handshake. All you need to do is set up a login to activate your account and get started. Okay, so I highly advise that you all do that right away if you haven't already done it. Excuse me, we also use Handshake to keep you informed on on-campus events, guest speakers, and presentations like this one. So again, I highly recommend that you activate your Handshake account and start using it. It's an awesome platform. So let's talk about design thinking. Now, the concept of design thinking is based on the work done at the Stanford Life Design Lab, as I mentioned, which is co-founded by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. Now, both of them teach a popular class at Stanford called Design Your Life, oddly enough, and also co-authored the book that you're seeing right here, which is roughly the same name, Designing Your Life, How to Build a Well-Lived and Joyful Life. Now, the idea behind this work is the principle and techniques of design thinking, which is a problem-solving methodology typically used by engineers and product designers. But it's also a practical framework for approaching life as a design challenge, which can help you create a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Now, the open principle of design thinking is you are here. One of the basic philosophies of design thinking, especially for life designers, is that you start from where you are. The past is gone, the future is unknown, and so the best place to get started is simply where you are right now. By embracing this philosophy, it's possible to let go of self-judgment and just get started. So let's get started with a little exercise. Because another design principle or practice that they use is called action to bias, which basically means try things out. So get out your notebook and a pen or pencil, and I'm going to give you 60 seconds to come up with as many uses for a paperclip. You see one here. Many uses for a paperclip that you can come up with. Okay, ready? And go. Let me get my timer started here. We have music. Do, 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 do. Okay, now we have music. "30 seconds. Come on, guys, come up with those ideas. Oh boy. How many uses for a paperclip? 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and pens down. Okay. In the chat space, let me know how many ideas did you come up with? Just put a number down. Give me some numbers, guys. How many numbers? How many ideas for a paperclip? 5. Okay. 5, 5, 4, 5, 5, 3. Okay. Interesting. 10. There we go, Trina. Okay. Now, I want you to write down what was the most radical idea that you came up with on the use for a paperclip? All right. Did anybody really think outside the box? I think Trina did with 10 ideas. So what was your most radical idea? At least Trina's got to let me know. A needle. Excellent. That's a good one. I think I sewed a pair of jeans once with a needle. Yes, unlocking doors. God, when my kids used to lock a door, you're right, I used a paper clip to open up the door. They were fascinated how that worked. I'm like, duh. Temporary hem. Great. Okay. You guys are on a roll. Perfect, perfect. Bobby pin. Excellent. Okay. We're actually going to do this again. Okay. But now that you've got some ideas from other people, I want you to try and really push the boundaries. Okay, ready? Another 60 seconds and go. Okay, we're a little more chill. Go for volume, get clever. Break the rules. Stuck, just take a breath and look around your room or your office or whatever space you're in. Try and get a new perspective. You get an aha moment, really push it. There's tons of ideas out there. Wrapping it up. And okay, stop. There we go. Ready? Okay. Do we do any better? Give me some new numbers. Do we come up with new stuff? If you had more ideas in round 2, put those in. 0. 0. Okay. Good. That was more than the first round. Bookmark. Excellent idea. Trina's on a roll. Chrissy had 2 more. Okay. I like the bookmark. That's a good one. Noah had 2 more. A ruler. Awesome. Okay. So let's take a little look about why you may have gotten some new or different ideas. Turns out your brain basically is like a 40-watt processor, which is not all that powerful. However, it makes up for this by organizing data in the environment hierarchically in what cognitive psychologists call schemas. It's our brain's attempt at efficiency in interpreting the vast amounts of noises coming out of my phone. Sorry about that. It's the brain's attempt at efficiency in interpreting the vast amounts of information that's being presented within the world. So here's the secret. I kind of stuck it to you by priming you for a certain schema. Basically, the paperclip holds things together idea. And when I showed you that paperclip doing its typical function, holding sheets of paper together, that may have like put you in a mindset that may have limited you with other ideas, except for Trina, who came up with all kinds of stuff. So you may have come up with like holding gift wrapping paper, or maybe like holding bags of popcorn or potato chips or something. Maybe even came up with a way of like using it as a tool, like to display prints or something in your room. And maybe on the second try, you expanded that tool idea or something, or someone else put in the hold that you came up with all kinds of, yeah, I don't know. Here they have holding your holding your phone, right? Or some other function. You guys had some really good ideas though. So the thing is, on the first try, we're primed for that typical holding paper schema. But after all the holding ideas ran out, you may have gotten stuck. But then after other people came up with ideas in the chat, and after you tried out new ideas, a realization emerged, right? And the use of a paperclip as a tool makes you think of other things a paperclip can be used for besides holding papers. And now you start to ask yourself, what are the other ways that I can use a paperclip as a tool? Which leads you down a new pathway of ideas, like perhaps using the point of a paperclip to reset your router, which somebody brought up on the first round, or pop out a stuck CD tray, which then might take you down the adjacent schema of repair. And now you're thinking of schemas might open up a new stream of ideas, like using it to repair a zipper on your jacket, Or having it, now that you've got an idea of it on your clothes, you might think of things that you might wear, leading you to another adjacent schema of jewelry. And bam, new ideas start to come up all the time. And the jewelry schema might lead you down to think of art, which leads to a new pathway of ideas for the humble yet versatile paperclip. Okay, now I have in my notes here to ask if there were other schemas that we haven't mentioned that you guys came up with, but we already did. I mean, a bookmark was awesome. A sewing needle, a bobby pin, a lottery ticket scratcher, a ruler. These are all great ideas. So you guys obviously know how to tap into different schemas, which I think is awesome. So if you did get stuck, all right, some of you in the first time around, you had 2 ideas or 3 ideas. I want to debrief a little bit. What did that feel like? Okay. And specifically, where in your body did you feel that sense of stuckness? Because sometimes the body tells us that we're stuck before we even realize it cognitively in our brain. And so paying attention to our bodies can yield some really good data. Okay. Maybe in the future, if you get that stuck feeling somewhere, you recognize it and you can begin to overcome that. Okay. Now, for those of you, Trina, who had tons of different ideas, can you tell me in the chat real quickly, how did you jump from one schema to another? Like, what made you bounce around with all these ideas that are other uses for a paperclip? I'm really fascinated to know. I'm looking at my chat over on the side here. A ruler she had, a bookmark. Trina, where do you come up with all these ideas? Come on. She's keeping her secrets close to the chest. Okay. That's all right. Well, let me ask you this. What was it like when you felt these new ideas coming out, right? When some of you came up with a whole new way of looking at it, what did that feel like when the light bulb went off? And did you feel that somewhere, particularly in your body? Because again, sometime in the future, when you get stuck and you have that uncomfortable stuck feeling, you might be able to access that part of your body that lights up the light bulb, and you can get a better way to get unstuck. Okay? Just one of the ideas we're trying to fool around with here. So let me introduce you to the concepts, we can bounce, of divergent and convergent thinking. Okay? The skill of divergent thinking can help you access different schemas and thus different types of ideas. So there's an old saying, if you have a hammer, if all you have is a hammer rather, then everything looks like a nail. But it's really hard to take a screw out of a wall with a hammer, right? I mean, you usually end up taking a big chunk of the wall out with it. So it's much better to use a screwdriver. Now, if you can be aware of your schemas, your different tools besides a hammer, then you can be aware of the constraints that you may be putting on yourself, and you can intentionally overcome those constraints and find your screwdriver. You might be able to open up other possible schemas, which allows you access to a broader set of ideas from which to design. Now, this is part of a concept called divergent thinking, okay? Proposed by a mid-20th century psychologist named J.P. Guilford. Divergent thinking is the ability to generate many ideas or solutions from a single point or piece of information, okay? It's thought to be one of, if not the most important aspect of creativity. And yet, unfortunately, it's mostly an ignored skill in our current society. In schools and in most of our workplaces, we're taught and encouraged primarily to focus on convergent thinking, which is the ability to take many pieces of information and data and generate a single solution. Think of solving a math equation with many variables, or creating a research paper that comes down to one conclusion, okay? Most of us get lots of training in convergent thinking, and make no mistake, that's important. But many of us get very little training in divergent thinking, and divergent thinking can be equally as useful. So if you want to get good at adopting multiple schemas to help you access a broader set of ideas from which to design or develop your life, practice exercising your divergent thinking muscles. And one way to do this is in your everyday life. When you're presented with a decision that you have to generate some options for, don't stop until you get at least 3 options, okay, before trying to make a decision. Now, if you only have 2 options, you're not making a decision, you're making a choice. With at least 3 options, you get to make a decision. And I guarantee you, when you come up with that 3rd option, you'll get a 4th and a 5th and a 6th, and the doors will open and you'll be flooded with possibilities. That's the way to think, okay? Now, Tomoko's going to help us by exploring your views on college and see if maybe there might be some schemas that you might be stuck in there. Tomoko, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Okay. So moving on to designers' mindset. So designers have certain mindsets, and we can use the principles and technique of design thinking, problem-solving methodology, commonly used by engineers and product designers in our lives. So it is a practical framework for approaching life as a design challenge to help us create fulfilling and meaningful lives. So we have radical collaboration with others. So designers like to collaborate, and designing is a process. So many of the best ideas are going to come from other people with experiences both similar and different from your own. And then we have curiosity. How many of you hope you will never lose that childlike curiosity from childhood? And then we have reframe. So reframing is what designers love to do. So what do you want to grow into next? The design thinking framework encourages us to be curious as the life of ours, wonderful design of our life unfolds. And then we have trying stuff. So you have to try stuff to get unstuck. So that is called prototyping. You're going to try stuff. And then we have, remember, it's a process. So mindfulness of process. So you have to understand that designing your life is an ongoing, iterative process. It's a process. So be mindful of that. Okay. Now we're going to talk about reframing a little bit more. So designers get unstuck by viewing a problem from another perspective. So reframing allows us to step back, examine biases, and reframe dysfunctional beliefs. So you can get unstuck by viewing career or your life problems from another perspective. And let's go through some of the reframing. Okay, so here we have the dysfunctional belief. And what is the first one? I should know where I'm going by now. So I feel like a lot of people have this kind of mana'o thinking that you got into college and you should know where you're going by now. And what is the reframe? I won't always know where I'm going, but I can always know whether I'm going in the right direction. Okay. And then the second dysfunctional belief, that could be if you're successful, you will be happy. And what is the reframe for this? True happiness comes from designing a life that works for you. And then another dysfunctional belief we have is work is not supposed to be enjoyable. That's why they call it work. And the reframe to this is enjoyment is a guide to finding the right work for you. Okay, so that means you have to know what your purpose of work is. How does it relate to family, friends, and your life view? Does it align with our life view? What feels right to you? Step in the right direction. Find a path that aligns with your interest values that align. Okay, and then I have another dysfunctional belief. I need to figure out my best possible life, make a plan, and then execute it flawlessly. And what is the reframe? There are multiple great lives and plans within me, and I get to choose which one to build my way forward to next. So life is not static. It's about growth and change. We're constantly changing and evolving. However, sometimes we attach ourselves to a destination and we don't get there, and we are ultimately disappointed, and you wonder how we might achieve the best possible life. And this is why it is important to remember that the experience is meant to be enjoyed, and there could be multiple designs, multiple great lives, all during different seasons in your own life. Okay, so now we're gonna look into college archetypes. Okay, we have 4 types of college archetypes, and let's go through each types of these archetypes. Okay, the first one is life of the mind. I'm interested in growing my intellect, in knowledge for knowledge's sake. I came to pursue subject matter interest, develop expertise, create new knowledge. That was the first one. And The second one is career readiness. I came to college to launch my career. I'm interested in developing skills and amassing experiences that will position me well for joining the workforce. The third one is becoming you. I came to college to explore, to figure out who I am, what I like, and what matters to me. That could be traveling abroad, playing a sport, finding different communities, expressing oneself. And then the fourth one is supporting myself/my community. So education is key to social mobility and financial security, and a college degree will help gain access to necessary resources now and in future. I have a family or a community depending on me, and college helps me reach this goal. Okay. So now I have this question for you. What do you think your college, the institution, thinks the purpose of college is? Type in the chat box. Is it number 1, life of the mind, or 2, career readiness, or number 3, supporting myself and my community, or number 4, becoming you? Type in the chat box. What do you think your college, the institution, thinks the purpose of college is? Type in the chat box. Okay. Give you a few seconds. All 4. Yes, great question. Okay, is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? Learning and career readiness, all 4. Okay. Great answers, great answers. Okay. Now, the next question. What do you think your family or your caregivers think the purpose of college is? Type in the chat box. Is it number 1, 2, 3, 4, or all 4? Type in the chat box. What do you think your family and caregivers think the purpose of college is? 1 and 2. 2, career readiness. Another career readiness, number 2. Nice. 2, career readiness. Yes. Yeah, we have a lot of 2s. 1 and 2 and lots of 2s. Okay. Now, the last question I have for you is, what do you think the purpose of college is? Type in the chat box. Why are you here? What do you think the purpose of college is? Is it life of the mind? Number 2, career readiness. Okay. I see a number 4. Okay. A lot of 4s. Becoming you. Okay. Ooh, 4, 4. 1 and 4, the life of mind and becoming you. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So, what's college for? Okay. Thank you, Chrissy. I see 1 and 2. So now I have another question or overview. I want individually take 1 minute to finish this sentence. College will be a success if fill in the blank. I'll give you 1 minute, okay? And type in the chat box and share what you came up with and why. I'll give you 1 minute. Okay,
Somebody, ideas?
thank you. Perfect. Okay, thank you. That was 1 minute. Trina said, college will be success if I seek success. Why? Because where you seek, where you seek, you will find. Knowledge is power, and schools offer accessibility to the knowledgeable. Thank you. That's wonderful. That's great. Sage said, college will be a success if I use my resources well and absorb all of the knowledge and info that I can. Wonderful. Thank you. Beautiful. If finances wasn't a burden, paying for the living essentials is a hassle, especially if you're single and do not have family support. Yes. Thank you for your honesty. And we have college will be success if I am to find my passion or career interest. I want to be able to find what I enjoy doing. Nice. That is so profound. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your manaos. Okay. Thank you. Now, the takeaways. There are many different ways of going about college. There's no one right way, but you can play with wearing different hats. So try with their archetype hats. See how they influence or evolve your current thinking of what you think college is for. Your purpose can evolve with you. Okay, and now moving on to Kim.
Okay. A big decision that many of you might be grappling with on this college journey of yours is, what am I going to major in? What am I going to do? And with more than 70 different degrees across all of our campuses, there's a lot to think about. Which brings us to this. How many of you have gotten this question? So what are you going to major in? Then you answer, and depending on what you say, you might get hit with the even better follow-up question. Oh, well, what are you going to do with that? How many of you gotten this question? You can just type yes or no in the chat. And how many of you who have gotten this question, how many of you like this question? Enjoy answering it again, again, and again. Right? So what's embedded in these questions is the belief that your major drives the rest of your life. And as you can see, some majors are really tightly linked, such as computer science, you become a software engineer; psychology, you become a therapist; English, you're a writer; economics, an investment banker; biology, you become a doctor, right? And then such as we have Barack Obama, right? He was majored in political science. He was the 44th president. And then we have John Hill, who was a former White House chef in the 1980s. And he actually received his degree in restaurant and food services from UH Hilo. And then we have the all famous Steven Spielberg. We all know who he is. And he got a degree in film and electronic arts, and he's obviously a film director. Okay, so we have some majors and careers that are tightly linked. However, others are very loosely linked. And we have some examples of those as well. So we have Mick Jagger from the Rolling Stones, who hopefully you guys have an idea who he is. He actually was studying accounting and finance. Then we have Dwayne Johnson, who studied criminology and sociology. He's an actor, obviously. And then we have Aquafina. And again, she's an actress, but she studied journalism and women's studies. So for some of us, our majors don't always have something to do with what we are currently doing. But generally, as a society, we think about everything being built around college majors, and your major determining the rest of your life. But the world is not organized around college majors. The world is actually organized around what people are doing. And as you can see by this craziness maze of arrows, that not every occupation is directly linked to one particular major. So for example, Let's say you hope to work in the media industry. What could you major in? You can major in communications, media, fine arts, English, public relations. You want to remember that there's always going to be multiple roads leading to a singular destination. And I say this because I don't want you to get caught up in the trap with, well, what are you going to do with that? Because it follows a framework that isn't necessarily rooted in reality, that every career map leads to a particular major. And so we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to find the right major, but we don't want you to get caught up in that. In life design, we can reframe these dysfunctional beliefs by adopting a new perspective. Constructing a fulfilling career is much more about what you're doing than what you're majoring in. So let's talk a little bit more about dysfunctional beliefs. Okay, so dysfunctional beliefs are beliefs that we hold on to that prevent us from moving forward, like this cat who's stuck. Okay, so let's look at a dysfunctional belief. Okay, your major determines your job, so you better pick the right one. Okay, so let's try to reframe this. Let's look at this from a different perspective. Okay. Only 25% of people 10 years after graduation are doing a job that's directly relating to their major. That's only 25%, 1/4 of the people are doing a job that related to their major. And you will likely have 2 to 3 separate careers and 15 plus jobs in your lifetime. Okay. I've had many jobs and I'm still figuring everything. Okay, let's look at another dysfunction. Okay, office hours are just for when I'm in trouble. Let's reframe this. Look at it different, right? Office hours are about building relationships on campus. You can learn about different careers or different opportunities. Again, it's another way of building up a support system. And then we have one more dysfunction. Okay, what is your passion? How many of you heard this? Just follow your passion. Just do what you love. But how many of you don't know what you're necessarily passionate about? Well, Bill Damon, a researcher in the education department at Stanford, has studied this particular question. And it turns out that only 20% of us have a singular passion that we can actually articulate. And the other 80% of us don't. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not passionate, but it might mean that we don't have one singular passion, but rather we are passionate about many things, and we have too many to list. And in addition, Carl Dweck, who's another researcher, researched this question about passion and has found out that curious engagement might be the key to purposeful work and might even lead to passion. But passion doesn't generally come first. And yet, we keep asking this question that leaves 80% of us stuck. So, contrary to popular belief, passion isn't always a helpful organizing principle, but rather we should look to curious engagement, which could be an internship or job shadowing or just doing your research, can better direct you on your path. Okay, so your takeaway. You learn by doing and not by thinking about the problem, not by planning and analyzing, by actually trying stuff out and learning how it goes. So prototypes helps to expose any of your assumptions, and you want to fail early so you can succeed often. We want you to start getting comfortable with trying things and not knowing if they will work. And a great way of doing this is by prototyping. And now good prototypes are all about return on investments. So we want to maximize learning for minimum investment. So the best prototypes are inexpensive, right, in terms of financial outlay, and they are fast to implement. So there's the low time investment, and they're accessible to you now, and they're fast and quick. Okay, so now we're going to do a quick prototyping journal activity. So on that same piece of paper, I want you guys to think about if there's anywhere in your life where you're just overanalyzing something, and that you might benefit from maybe trying something out. So if you've been thinking and, analyzing something and you haven't really done anything about it, is there something in your life that you could actually, you might be able to do, right? So just jot down a few of your observations. I'll give you a minute or two here. Okay, and so these could be just for you, or if anybody wants to type down something that they've been, stuck on, you can type it in the chat. It's totally up to you. And then we're actually going to give you guys a little bit of homework. So within the next week, because we want to keep the momentum going, right, in this workshop, we want you to prototype an intro. If there's something that you're interested in, prototype it, which could be through conversation or, doing your research on it, listening to a podcast, something like that. And then within the next 2 weeks, we want you to have a conversation with a peer, or it could be an instructor, it could be a student, it could be an alumni, anybody, and kind of have a conversation with them. Maybe they're graduated with a field that you're interested about. Maybe you can learn more about it. So within the next 2 weeks, kind of do it, prototype the conversation, do like an info interview, or just have a conversation. And then we have some resources for prototyping that might help. So we have your peers and alumni. So talk to the people who are doing the things that you're curious about, right? If a peer is in the major that you're curious about, ask them about it. And talk again with alumni who might have graduated and see what their thoughts are. Okay, and then we have handshake. Remember from earlier, Monty was talking about this, right? Handshake is our school's job form platform. And you can find internship opportunities there. You can chat with employers. You can look for part-time, full-time work there. Okay. We have our faculty, so don't forget about your instructors, right? Visit their office hours, have conversations with them. They're people, talk to them. Okay. And then on campus. So all of us are on different campuses, but we have clubs, we have that you might want to join. We have cohorts some of you might be in. There's career coaching, and there's so many more resources on each of our campuses. And then don't forget about your career center and our workshops. All right, so we'll leave those for you for a little bit. Don't forget about your resources. Okay. And that's pretty much all we had today. So thank you so much for joining. And then our next Career Center workshop is actually going to be on February 21st. And it is essential communication skills for college success. So we can send out information on that too if you're interested. Again, that will be at 12 p.m. to 1 as well. And then if you guys have any questions, you can type in the chat. And as Tomoko mentioned earlier, everything we discussed with you today, we're going to share the recording. So if there was a lot of things that you might not have taken notes or you might have missed, we can share that with you so you can look at it again. And then we'll put our emails in here for you so you can email us if you have any questions as well.
Yes, we also have a survey. So if you can take a minute and fill this out, that will be wonderful.
Yeah.
And we will have it in the chat box for the survey and our email address. Oops,
that came out weird. Sorry.
Okay, and then another thing to mention, this is from the Stanford Designing Your Life activities, and we will be doing another one related to decision making as well. So if interested, please look out for the emails sent out from us. We usually use Handshake to send out email and information. So check your Handshake. And if you're a new student starting this semester, you will receive an email from your career center about your activation. So you will be sent a specific link to activate your account. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming today. If you have any questions, you can type in a chat box or unmute yourself. And thank you for coming, everybody. Aloha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.